You're entering the Blitz with your host, Matt Maldonado, on Madness for Life News. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Matt Maldonado, here in FEMA Region 9 in Las Vegas, Nevada, and this is the Blitz, Madness4life News. It is episode number 21 and podcast number 50. This is for the Friday edition. I am doing this on Saturday because I missed Friday. I was doing something Friday, just like I did Wednesday, Thursday, so I'm going to be doing a couple of podcasts here today. I'm going to be doing the Friday edition and the Saturday edition today. So let's get into all of the news here today. I'll be doing RT news, film fallout, 30 injured, 40 arrested as Bangladesh police clash with protesters. Violent clashes erupted in Bangladeshi capital after scores of people flooded the streets protesting against a U.S.-made anti-Islam film. Despite a 24-hour ban, police used tear gas to disperse a stone-throwing crowd. Dozens sustained injuries. Hundreds of Islamist protesters tried to stage an anti-American rally in the capital city of Dhaka on Saturday morning. Police had to use tear gas and batons as the out-of-control crowd attacked security forces, torched vehicles, and damaged a police van. Local English newspaper Daily Star put a number of those injured in clashes to at least 30 people, including law enforcers, and the number of arrested at 40 protesters. The violence intentionally started inside the press club building after leaders and activists of the Islamist Party tried to hold their protest, the online edition of the newspaper reports. They attempted to emerge from the press club in the procession, but police barred them because of the 24-hour ban, which was imposed by Dhaka Metropolitan Police, DMP, last Friday. The restriction prohibits all protesters near the city's main mosque to avoid mass unrest. Some of the protesters responded by throwing brick chips at the police, but from inside the building. At the same time, others came out of clash with the security forces, halting the traffic on the road nearby. Police cornered off the 3 gates of the press club and detained the leaders and activists who tried to leave the premises. They defied our ban and tried to stage a protest against the Islamist film, the Islam film. At one stage, they started pelting stones at policemen. The AFP quotes police spokesman as saying, the alliance which staged the protest has called a nationwide strike on Sunday to continue mass demonstration against the film. Insurgents of Islam and French cartoonists mocking the Prophet Muhammad, which both have steered mass outrage across the Muslim world. The latest violence comes a day after some 1,000 Bangladeshis took the streets of the capital. The protest burned down a coffin of Barack Obama covered by the U.S. flag, along with the effigy of the American president. Activists of different Islamist political parties also staged a mock hanging of Sam Bessel, the alleged filmmaker behind the anti-Islam movie. Protesters also burnt a French flag in response to cartoons of the Prophet in the French magazine. Meanwhile, in Nigeria, also littered with anti-U.S. protests. A crowd of demonstrators stretched several kilometers through the largest city, Kano. Protesters led by the Islamist movement of Nigeria and a pro-Iranian group were shouting "Death to America, death to Israel, and death to the enemies of Islam." Demonstrators also carried portraits of U.S. President Barack Obama and American and Israeli flags. In Pakistan, violent protests continued Saturday, a day after deadly clashes ended up with around 20 people killed and more than 200 injured. The crowd of about 1,500 people, including women and children, peacefully rallied in Pakistan's capital, Islamabad. They later gathered near Parliament building, chanting anti-U.S. slogans and demanding a strict punishment for the filmmaker. A cabinet minister offered a $100,000 reward for the death of the film's director. Innocent of Islam, Muslims, a low-budget film made in California, excuse me, was triggered a wave of bloody anti-American protest in more than 20 countries across the Muslim world. Violent mass demonstrations have been lasting for more than 10 days, leaving scores of dead and injured. Excuse me. And it shows you pictures of them burning the coffin of Obama, American flags, burning Obama, an effigy hanging. Yeah. So continuing here with these articles, still at the Russia Today or RT website. Ecuador might transfer Assange to Sweden. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange could be transferred to the Ecuadorian embassy in Sweden in order to respond to sex crime legislation that he faces there. Ecuador, which had granted the whistleblower political asylum, may ask Britain to transfer him under its protection. Ecuadorian Minister Riquio Peno indicated on Friday. Peno told reporters that among different possibilities to end the stalemate over Assange's case was that his statement be taken in our embassy in London, or that Ecuador get authorization to transfer him, if necessary, to our embassy in Sweden, so that the case can proceed there with the protection of Ecuador and meeting the needs of Swedish justice. To date, there has been no reaction from London. As for Sweden, its foreign minister said it would not comment, as they had not received any approach from Quito. AFP reports. The WikiLeaks founder has been holed up in the Ecuadorian embassy in the British capital since June 19th, as the UK authorities are trying to extradite him to Sweden, where he is waited for questioning over sex crime legislation, allegedly. Citing fears that he could be further extradited to the U.S. to face charges over the release of thousands of sensitive U.S. documents, Ecuadorian president decided to grant Assange political asylum. On Friday, Riquio Peno confirmed that he is to meet British Foreign Secretary William Hedge next week on the sidelines of UN General Assembly meeting. And that is it with that article. Next article from RT. Hell of a hangover, 3,000 strong Facebook party leaves Dutch town ravaged. A Dutch girl had a most memorable, if not pleasant, birthday party when some 3,000 people showed up in her small town. The crowd attached by her invitation, which essentially went viral. Looted shops and clashed with riot police. 6 people were reportedly injured overnight in the town of Horen in the north of the country, as violence raged across the normally sleepy community. A car was set on fire, several shops looted, and street signs and lampposts vandalized. Dutch police eventually broke up the crowd, which was throwing stones, bottles, and flower pots at the officers. Some 20 people were arrested. The rioting was the accumulation of an online campaign, which started when a girl posted a video invitation to her 16th party on Facebook page and forgot to mark it as private. The news went viral, and several sites indicated to the forthcoming event popped up. The party was doubted Project X Heron, by some in reference to a U.S.-made comedy film about a similar distraction incident. By this week, some 30,000 people signed up in the invitation to the town, which has a population of 18,000. The girl's family went into hiding as the police breached for Friday's invasion of partygoers. Previously, Project X parties have run riot in different parts of the world, including Germany, Australia, and the United States. In our incident in America, teens across damage of up to $100,000 when they broke into an occupied Texas home. And it just continues on from there. It shows you different photos and stuff like that of riot police, and chairs caught ablaze. Wow. Anyway, continuing here with other articles. Rand Paul stands alone against Senate's preemptive war resolution for Iran. The U.S. Senate voted 90-1 every Saturday. Earlier Saturday, 90-1 every Saturday. No. Earlier Saturday on a non-binding resolution to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. Voting against the resolution was Senator Rand Paul, arguing that the bill was a de facto declaration of war. The measure, which was introduced several months ago by Senator Lindsey Graham, Bob Casey, and Joe Lieberman, supports continuing to pressure Iran to suspend its uranium enrichment program. The resolution advocates using methods often than containment to stop Iran, including exerting economic and diplomatic pressure. Senate Joint Resolution 41 rejects any United States policy that would rely on efforts to contain a nuclear weapons capable Iran weapons capable Iran capable whatever. Senators expressed their fears regarding Iran's nuclear capabilities. We know that Iran would create access for terrorists, access for them to these nuclear weapons, making the Middle East a nuclear tin box. Senator Richard Blumenthal said before the Senate, "We cannot trust this regime. We know that fact beyond any potential doubt." The bill states that it should not be misinterpreted as an endorsement for military force or war, but as the only senator to vote against the resolution, Paul argued that the resolution would eventually lead to war with Iran. A vote for this resolution is a vote for the concept of preemptive war, Paul said before the Senate. Passage of the resolution comes at a time when Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been pressuring the U.S. for an answer as to what would preempt a U.S. lead military strike against Iran. Currently, the U.S. is already posing tough sanctions on Iran to limit its oil sales, hurts its economy, and make it problematic for Iran to finance its nuclear enrichment program. Iran has continually insisted that its Iran nuclear program is entirely for peaceful civilian ends. Well, it doesn't matter if you are or not. They're going to make sure that your country is going to be destroyed, and it just doesn't matter for the United States, because the politics want to play politics, and they say, you know what, you're not going to have a country at all because we have a fear of you having a bomb, even though it's only about uranium enrichment for power, not a bomb, but power, like energy. But hey, We can have nuclear energy, but you can't. You cannot be a sovereign nation. I truly believe this is an attack on a sovereign nation, and it does not need to go through. But hey, what am I? I'm just some jackass with long hair. Anyway, continuing here. All right, last article for this podcast. Ex-Blackwater to teach U.S. spies several survival skills. There we go. Spies, survival skills, yes. The Pentagon has awarded Acclaim, the security company previously known as Blackwater, part of a $20 billion 5-year contract to train military intelligence agents. It comes despite the firm earlier being fined by a U.S. court for illegally arms trade. The U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency announced Thursday that it would hire 6 private security companies, including an Academy for the contract. The contractors are to train agents before they leave on overseas deployments to provide them with a foundation of hard and soft skills relative to living and working in hostile and crazy environments. Couldn't even say that word. I'm sorry. It's something different word. The document says Academy declined to comment on the contract when asked by Wired's Danger Room blog, saying it is not finalized yet, but it may be one of the first U.S. government contracts to received after changing ownership and rebranding for a second time. Blackwater dropped its scandal tainted name and became XE Services in 2009, but in late December 2011 changed it again. In August, Academy struck a deal with the U.S. Justice Department and agreed to pay $7.5 million to settle what the company described as a legacy matter. After being behind by former manager and owners, including founder Eric Prince. I think it's Prince. Yeah, it's Price. No, Prince. Can't even speak. Who sold his interest in 2006. 2010, Matt. Say it right. You're not dyslexic. Continuing here. The fine covered 17 violations, including arms smuggling and providing security services to foreign governments without U.S. approval. You know what we call that? We call that treason, and that's death by hanging. That's not in the article, but that's what that is. That is literally against the Logan Act. Without U.S. approval, yeah, that is treason. Yeah, you can go to jail for that. But hey, that's all right. You gotta have to pay a fine. You gotta pay a fine. That's it. That's all right. See, pay a fine and walk away. It's good. Isn't it good? In 2010, In 2010, it agreed to pay $42 million in fines for almost 300 violations of arms trade laws by the company under the previous management. The new management insisted the firm has now little to do with its early inclinations. Having undergone a profound reform and audit, today Academy is working to become the industry leader in governance, compromise, and regulatory matters. It is fair to say and important to note that the company that was once known as Blackwater simply does not exist anymore in the company that is now Academy, a spokesman for the firm told Politico. But some remain unconvinced and criticize the U.S. government for the lack of accountability for Blackwater's misdeeds. I think that was threatened by Eric Prince at one point, that if there were a procession, things would come out that would be damaging to the U.S. government. And I think we see from the settlement agreement, the papers behind it, there seems to be a lot of substance for that, because a lot of what Blackwater is doing is under the assumption of the U.S. government. Scott Horton, contributing editor to Harper's Magazine, told RT in an interview, they've changed their name 2 times, and they've changed some of the personnel in senior inclinants, but the repetition does not seem to be material changed. They are still more or less the cowboys of the industry operating on the edge. I suspect they are involved in an awful lot of business that they don't want to see come out, and that the U.S. government probably also doesn't want to see the light of day, he added. And that is it for this podcast. I'm going to be doing the Saturday podcast in a little bit. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to me and tolerating me today for the Friday podcast. And if you want to follow me, you can hit that subscribe button, or you can follow me on the links below, or you can also follow Close to Modern. They're also on the links below. You can also either buy their EP that's right now that's out, called Union. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and God bless America.